This is the TOEFL Podcast, Episode 12. You're listening to TOEFL Podcast, Episode 12. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff McQuillan, from the Center for Educational Development in Los Angeles, California. Today's podcast is called Campus Safety. A reminder or an announcement that because of the holidays coming up at the end of December, we will not be having a podcast, a TOEFL podcast on Christmas, the week of Christmas, the last week of December. We will continue with a new podcast the following week, the first week of January. So we will be taking a 1-week break or vacation from the podcast and coming back the first week of the year, of the new year. Now let's get started talking about campus safety. Good morning. I'm Officer Brandon, and I'm head of public safety on this campus. I'm here today to talk about how to protect yourself while you are on this campus. Students new to the campus believe that once they are within the campus grounds, they can let their guard down. That's not the case, and I'm here to give you some tips to avoid problems. One of the most serious problems on any university campus is attacks on students. These can be robberies or even sexual assaults and rape. To avoid situations that make you vulnerable to attacks, do not walk alone on campus. Have an escort and walk in well-lighted areas on pedestrian paths. Keep your eye out for strangers or suspicious people. The Public Safety Office offers self-defense classes, and I encourage you all to sign up. The most frequent problem we have on campus is theft and burglary. Students often leave their backpacks that contain valuables, purses, or wallets unattended when they step away from a classroom, in the library, or at the student union. Students also leave their dorm rooms unlocked if they leave for short periods of time. Always keep your valuables with you and always lock your doors. Don't give a thief a chance to act. Well, my aim today was to alert you to some potential problems that students may have on campus. If you have any questions or need help, please visit the Public Safety Office. We are there to help you. In this podcast, we're talking about campus safety, or keeping yourself safe from harm and crime on a college campus. And we listened to a talk or a speech from Officer Brandon. The expression officer, the title, I should say, officer, is what we call someone who is a police officer. Instead of saying Mr. Smith, you say Officer Smith. On a university campus in the United States, the police department, or the people in charge of security and safety, are called public safety on most campuses. Sometimes they're called the campus police. Sometimes they're called public safety. Usually, the public safety office has police officers as part of the office, but there are also other people who work, including students, for the public safety department. The officer here is telling students that they sometimes, or new students, sometimes believe that they're safe as long as they are within the campus grounds. The grounds, Grounds, just means the physical area of the campus, where the campus is located. So the grounds would include the buildings and the walkways, the sidewalks, the roads, the grass. All of that is called the grounds. Some people believe, according to this public safety officer, that they can let their guard down. To let your guard down means to no longer be careful, to be relaxed, to not be looking for problems or trouble. The officer says that it's not the case that you can do that. He says that's not the case, meaning that's not true. The expression that's not the case means that whatever was said before isn't true. Some people believe that Los Angeles is a very dangerous city, and I could say that's not the case, meaning that's not true. Well, it's a little dangerous in some parts, but mostly not. The public safety officer gives some tips, TIPS. A tip, of course, is some advice in order to avoid problems or not to have problems. One of the most serious problems he talks about are attacks on students. An attack would be when someone physically hurts you or physically touches you. These can sometimes be robberies, and a robbery, Robbery, is when someone steals something from you. Sexual assault and rape have to do with someone forcing you to have sex. Often this is an attack on women. In order to avoid these situations that make you vulnerable to attacks, the officer says, you should not walk alone or by yourself on campus. The expression the word vulnerable, vulnerable, it means that it could happen to you, that it's likely that this is something that could affect you, that you are, the particular something bad, something negative. I am vulnerable to her criticisms, means that she can attack me verbally with her criticisms, that I am exposed or open to that because of some problem. So the advice is not to walk alone, but to have an escort. An escort, ESCORT, is someone who walks with you to keep you safe in this case. And in most American campuses at night, you can call the public safety office and you can get an escort to take you from, say, the classroom building to your car. So, and that's a free service offered in most university campuses, an escort service, campus escort service. Be careful with that expression, escort service, because an escort service, not as part of a university, is basically a organization or a group of people that are involved in prostitution. So you don't want to confuse those two. But a campus escort is just someone from public safety that takes you and goes with you so that you are safe. It's recommended you walk in well-lighted, that is, lots of light, at night on pedestrian paths. A pedestrian, Pedestrian, is someone who is on foot, someone who is walking. So a pedestrian path would be a sidewalk or some sort of a path that people can walk on. You're also told to keep an eye out for strangers. To keep an eye out means to be looking for, to be observing a particular thing. A stranger, of course, someone you don't know, or suspicious people. And suspicious people are people who are doing things that look like there might cause a problem. The university offers, in this example, self-defense classes. And a self-defense class is, of course, a class you take in order to learn how to defend yourself, physically and otherwise. The two most common problems, or the most common problem according to our story today, is theft and burglary. And theft and burglary are basically the same thing. They mean when someone steals something from you. The officer says that students often leave their backpacks that contain valuables unattended. A backpack, all one word, backpack, P-A-C-K, is, you probably know, a bag that students usually use. They put their books in so that they have their books with them. It's easier to carry on your shoulder or on your back. Valuables would be anything that has a high value for money, credit cards. If you have jewelry, those could all be considered valuables. Things that are valuable or cost a lot of money. Unattended, the officer says people leave their backpacks, purses, or wallets unattended. Means they're not with them. They're not looking at them. They leave them by themselves and go somewhere else. They sometimes do this when they step away from a classroom. To step away here means to leave for a short amount of time. I'm going to step away for a few minutes and then come back. So the advice, of course, is to keep your valuables with you and to lock your doors. The end of the talk, the officer says that his aim today was to alert you to some potential problems. Aim, A-I-M, means the goal or the reason why he was talking to you. To alert, A-L-E-R-T, to alert someone means to inform, to tell someone. Sometimes it means to warn you. That as a verb. So if I'm going to alert you means I'm going to tell you about some problem that you might have. Now let's listen to the story, this time at a native rate of speech. Good morning. I am Officer Brandon, and I'm the head of public safety on this campus. I'm here today to talk about how to protect yourself while you are on this campus. Students new to the campus believe that once they are within the campus grounds, they can let their guard down. That's not the case, and I'm here to give you some tips to avoid problems. One of the most serious problems on any university campus is attacks on students. These can be robberies or even sexual assaults and rape. To avoid situations that make you vulnerable to attacks, do not walk alone on campus. Have an escort and walk in well-lighted areas on pedestrian paths. Keep an eye out for strangers or suspicious people. The Public Safety Office offers self-defense classes, and I encourage you all to sign up. The most frequent problem we have on campus is theft and burglary. Students often leave their backpacks that contain valuables, purses, or wallets unattended when they step away from a classroom, in the library, or at the student union. Students also leave their rooms unlocked if they leave for short periods of time. Always keep your valuables with you and always lock your doors. Don't give a thief a chance to act. Well, my aim today was to alert you to some potential problems that students may have on campus. If you have any questions or need help, please visit the Public Safety Office. We are there to help you. Now a couple of comprehension questions about this story or this passage. Question 1. When would this talk likely take place? A. At an orientation. B. At a celebration or party. C. At registration for classes. Or D. At a meeting with your student advisor. The correct answer is A. At an orientation. An orientation is a set of meetings that you have when you first become a student at a university. Normally you're required, or it's suggested, that you go to orientation meetings, and there they give you information you need to know about the university. This is a talk about safety, and that would something that would happen at an orientation meeting. It's not about a celebration. It doesn't take place when you register for classes. That usually is done in most American campuses now online anyway. And it isn't something you would talk about with your student advisor because this is clearly someone talking to a group of people. And if you talk to your student advisor, it's just one person talking to one person. One-on-one, we would say. Question number 2. What is recommended if you need to leave your dorm room for a short time? A. Take a self-defense class. B. Keep valuables in plain view. C. Contact the police. D. Lock your door. The correct answer is D. Lock your door. This one was sort of easy. Take a self-defense class. Well, that might be a good idea, but that won't help you if you leave your dorm room where you live, and you don't lock the door. Keep your valuables in plain view. This means keep things that are valuable to you so everyone can see them. Well, of course, that's not very good advice. C. Contact the police. Well, in the talk that you heard, the officer did say you could contact them if you needed help, but just leaving your dorm room is not a reason to contact the police. So the obvious answer is D. Lock your doors. That's all we have time for today on the TOEFL podcast. Again, we wish everyone a happy holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate, and we will see you again next year, the first week of January. From Los Angeles, California, I'm Jeff McQuillan. Thanks for listening. TOEFL Podcast is a production of the Center for Educational Development in Los Angeles, California. Copyright 2005. TOEFL is a registered trademark of the Educational Testing Service, which does not endorse and was not involved in the production of this podcast.